Chapter 188. Leaving Dragon Capital, perfected white tiger. Everyone's pride in being a swordsman. Han Yi, I heard that you're leaving. After the banquet ended, Han Yi was leaving the great hall when a voice disrupted his thoughts. Turning around, it was Lu Yunzi, who had somehow stepped out of the hall. Yes, my next mission is to head to Wuxia State, and also to see an old friend. Lu Yunzi pursed her lips, noticing a touch of nostalgia and remembrance in Han Yi's expression. She guessed, you left your sect for this old friend, didn't you? Perhaps so. Han Yi glanced at the deep palace constructed of vermilion walls and wooden eaves around him, feeling that it wasn't quite right for him. At least his journey to Dragon Capital had given him an insight into Lin Shiwan's current situation, and that despite Lin's fame and fortune, it came at a cost. Lu Yunzi looked at Han Yi's face, feeling inexplicably at peace. This man in a white robe gave her a sense of extreme calmness. He was genuine, frank, and straightforward. They hadn't spent much time together, but their relationship had deepened significantly overnight. Lu Yunzi looked at Han Yi one more time. Then, raising her head to gaze upon the vast sky and a line of geese flying southwards, she said thoughtfully, in vast world, nothing is impossible. Central Earth is incredibly wide and vast, and even Great Zhou is limitless. You may laugh, but the farthest place I had ever been is only the outer city of Dragon Capital. There are many places in Central Earth, where even those who have undergone the deity transformation have never traveled nor even heard out. I am actually quite envious of you. You have the ability to travel the four seas, overlooking the world from a bird's eye view and gaining a clearer understanding of this world. Perhaps where you are now is merely a narrow corner of the world. Reading thousands of volumes of books, traveling 10,000 li, observing all things under the sun, and experiencing all aspects of life is the true realm of pursuing the great path. But I simply don't have your good fortune. Han Yi nodded, making sure to remember the words of the Empress of Great Zhou. Perhaps Lu Yunzi really hadn't been to many places, but her experiences far exceeded those of most ordinary people. Much of Han Yi's time was spent in cultivation, and he rarely went out to gain personal experience. Witch Corpse Country, Abandoned Ascension Land, Chimo State, Ash Dragon Valley. He had only read about these places in books and had never personally experienced them. Maybe he really should take some time to travel and see the wonders of the vast world. Perhaps his cultivation would even make new breakthroughs. Han Yi glanced at Lu Yunzi and noticed that she was about to turn and leave. Han Yi, I hope that the next time I see you, you will bring me more surprises. The Empress of Great Zhou held back what she was about to say at the end. Maybe she felt this request was too heavy and would be a silent restriction on him. Or maybe she was afraid of being rejected by Han Yi, and their relationship would ultimately suffer. Wuxia State. On the official road outside Leizhou Prefecture, a white spiritual tiger leisurely trotted along. The spiritual tiger, with its gleaming fur and penetrating eyes, appeared smaller yet was filled with a sense of grace that exceeded that of a regular horse. On the tiger's back, a handsome young man adorned with cloud patterns and a crane-embroidered white robe was reclining, exuding a transcendental aura. He looked to be in his 20s, perhaps even older. His defined facial features were masculine. His long hair was tied in a crown knot, giving off a somewhat casual demeanor. He was leaning against the tiger's back, dozing off. On both sides was a vast, wind-blown grassland and in the distance, a continuous range of green mountains. Together with the youth on the tiger, they formed a rather poetic scene. But the tranquil scene was disrupted by a series of galloping hooves. Han Yi slightly furrowed his brows and squinted to see a group of youngsters, riding blood-red dragon-scale horses catching up from behind, yelling loudly. This group was likely from rich families, dressed in brocade clothing, carrying long swords, and riding rare spirit beasts. They were running wild, creating chaos at the city gate. As they passed him, some mocked his spiritual tiger with laughter, while others deliberately cracked whips near the tiger's ears to scare the little beast. After they passed, Han Yi seemed unfazed. He formed a spell silently and closed his eyes to doze off once again. However, after the group of horse-riding youngsters galloped for some time, they suddenly realized that on the road ahead, another spiritual tiger had appeared. On the tiger's back was the same young man in white, an exact replica of the one they had passed before. They were confused. and one of the braver ones approached. Dan bluntly asked, "Hey you, weren't you left behind us just now? How did you get ahead of us so fast?" Han Yi glanced at him, then closed his eyes again. He clearly couldn't be bothered. Humph, the youngster snorted, whipped his horse and galloped off, leaving a cloud of dust behind that engulfed the spiritual tiger. Eat my dust. The horse hooves were flying, their speed faster than before, but not long after, they once again saw a spiritual tiger up ahead, and the same young man in white. The young riders all wore startled expressions. One of them, refusing to believe, came forward and challenged, "Taoist, did you use a spell? How can this beast constantly outrun us?" This time, Han Yi didn't even open his eyes. He simply waved his hand dismissively, as if swatting a fly.